Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Enter the Abyss, your weekly podcast of spooky shit and stupid shenanigans.
Come for the brews, stay for the stories.
Hey, I like that. I'm drinking a Dilly Dally from Red Rock. It's a double IPA. And it's, let me see. 7.9% ABV.
I'm drinking Cross Fever from Epic Brewing, and I don't know what the percentage is. It's 5%. 5%.
Oh, wow. You went with just like the Utah Standard tonight, huh?
Yep. The Utah Standard.
Well, the Utah Standard for gas station and grocery store purchases.
Yeah, it's from the liquor store.
Oh, I know, but 5%. This is a 5% joke. But welcome back to Enter the Abyss. Cleet, did you hear that they have discovered who Jack the Ripper was?
Yeah, he was, wasn't it like in your genealogy report or something?
Well, so someone purchased a scarf from one of like the auctions that they were doing from like one of his victims, and he had it DNA tested, and I guess his great granddaughter provided a DNA test, and like they confirmed it, so it's like 100% confirmed. His name is Aaron Kosminski, and he was a Polish barber. It's crazy.
Oh, wow. You know, I could see a barber being a serial killer. You know,
Like
they get those
Sweeney
little,
Todd.
razor blades. Yeah, they like cut the hair off your neck, and he's like, the aorta, it's right there. I'm gonna get that girl in the subway later.
Yeah, that's my first thought. Was like it's like Sweeney Todd all over again.
Yeah, of course.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But it's just weird that like after that long, like it's still something we're talking about, and they just finally in 2025 found out who he is. It's wild, man.
Yeah. I'm still waiting for him to release the JK, the JFK files.
Oh yeah.
We'll see what those are. I actually have a plug, and this happened a while ago, and I didn't mention it. And I'm actually kind of shocked because it scared the bejesus out of me. Okay.
What? Nothing scares Cleet.
So I was one night going to bed, and I was having trouble sleeping. I take, 10 milligrams of melatonin, and I was just laying there in bed, laying there. And I swear to God, I heard my front door open, okay?
Whoa.
And it was like 1 a.m, and I jumped out of bed.
Grab your pistol.
And I heard my dog barking. I didn't have access to my pistol at the time, but it's okay. So I jump out of the bed, and the dog starts barking over on the couch, and I'm just like in fight or flight. Like I can feel this hit of adrenaline like I have rarely ever felt.
Yeah.
Like I've had fight or flight before, but this is like to a larger degree than I've ever felt, right? And I am like, okay, what do I do? And I'm like, okay, I got to make noise, and I got to make sure that they know I'm coming towards them, right? Because my wife's in the other room, and my kid's behind me, right? So you can't run at this point. And so I just start stomping and saying, hey! And I go to the front door. There's nothing there. Nothing there, okay?
Was it closed?
I'm like,
was it actually open?
Yeah, it was closed. So I'm like, okay, well, let me check the other door. So I go to the back door, and it's closed. And I'm like, what happened here? Because I literally jumped out of bed. I heard my dog barking. My dog was literally barking when I was started to walk towards the front door. And I just sat there, and I'm like trying to think. I'm like, well, okay, where the door is locked. So I go to the front door, and it's locked. I go to the back door, it's locked. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? And so my theory is, I will say, like, I stayed up like another 2 hours. I searched the house, trying to see if anybody was in there. I must have dreamt it. And my dog barking was some type of coincidence. Like, that's the only explanation I have. Like it was just so wild that he happened to bark. He couldn't have heard me because I was like, maybe, like, I doubt it. But it was literally probably the craziest moment of my life because it was so primal. Because I'm like, I gotta make sure I'm going into this room where I might like get stabbed. Yeah. But I'm like, I gotta do it. There's no other choice. Yeah. Dude, it was nuts.
And it
was crazy.
And you're sure it was like the front door? It couldn't have been like a door in the hallway, like your wife or something?
No. My front door has a distinct noise. I woke up my wife right after, and she was just like, oh, okay.
Okay.
Like, dude, it was nuts. It was some scary shit.
I will tell you, like, the dreaming thing is probably the most plausible, because when I take melatonin, dude, I have the craziest dreams, and they're always, like, super surreal. Now, that one, of course, like, I mean, a door opening is not, like, a crazy dream, but I don't know.
It's the only explanation, but it's like when you are on the precipice of falling asleep. I think they call it something, like you can hear something that sounds real.
Yeah.
I've had that a lot when I was a kid, like you'll hear like that. You know that clap thing I told you when I was a kid?
Yeah.
That happened to me. And when I watched the Conjuring preview, it freaked me out. Like that, there's like this moment just before you're about to go to sleep where you're still awake, but that dream state kicks in and, like, I don't know, you start to hallucinate.
Yeah. No, that's wild.
It has to be the explanation. But
well,
damn.
I am glad that nothing happened, because, you know, that'd suck if you're like, yeah, I got stabbed because someone entered my home.
Yeah, stabbed.
I just got stabbed, dude, right in the gut. Just got stabbed. Yeah, I haven't had anything like that. I've had, what was it? There was someone, like, rang my doorbell at like 3 a.m. That's never a good thing. But it was weird because, like, coincidentally our doorbell was offline too, so, like, it didn't have video at the time, so that was really weird. It just said, like, hey, someone rang the doorbell, but there was no picture. That was freaky. But I mean, yeah, that's when you said, it's very primal. You wake up and you're ready, like, okay, I might be dying today, or someone else might be dying.
Fight. 'Cause
you got a young kid in the house, dude. You got to do whatever it takes.
There's no running, man. Castle doctrine. Let's go.
Jeez. All right, Cleet, what are we covering this evening?
Tonight, we'll be exploring a Reddit thread called Cave Explorers of Reddit. What is your creepiest or most dangerous experience you've ever had? This reminds me of, was it Ted Caver? Ted in the Cave? What was that first original creepypasta of Ted the Caver? I think it's Ted the Caver. Have you heard of that one?
I have not.
Oh my god, it is one of the best creepypastas ever written. It was one of the originals, man. It's about this guy who likes to cave, you know, do the old spelunking. And he finds this cave that he goes into, and he can see, like, there's a passage, but it's, like, a little bit blocked off. And he, like, chips away at it for a while and gets into this passage. And he finds some shit, man. It's a pretty good story. One of the best out there. So
yeah.
I don't want to give anything else away from it, but damn.
I think I'm good. Like, I like climbing in caves. I'm not a spelunker, though. Like, I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, this passage is the exact same size as my body. I'm just gonna, like, wedge myself in there and go through some water. And no.
What's the worst thing that could happen, man?
Oh,
Muddy Putty Caves.
Okay, you want to know the worst thing? What? So many things, Cleet.
Never heard of that one.
Yeah, Muddy Putty. What's
May
that?
you rest in peace, buddy.
Buddy in the Muddy Putty. All right, well, we're gonna kick things off here. This starts from Deleted. During some cave exploring or spelunking, don't know the difference between them. What is the difference between them? Sidebar. Between caving and spelunking. Is spelunking just like literally like the narrow passages? You should Google that real quick. I'm curious.
So obviously, caving is also known as spelunking, and potholing. It's the same thing.
Potholing. Okay, so same thing. My family and some friends were in some deep caves, and we were heading out. We found a slit about knee-high in the rock. Getting on your stomach, there was a tight squeeze you could get into, and it led to a small crawl space in the rock, with quartz glowing on the ceiling making a beautiful crystal ceiling display. We went in one by one, and if you were claustrophobic, this place was your living nightmare. Most times you could feel the ceiling on your back and the floor on your stomach, and every time you took a breath, you'd feel it squeeze. We went deep in, and it was just incredible, like a small world tucked away within solid rock. I had made it as deep in as I could go, before the path waned to the left and covered with stalagmites and stalactites of sediment. Everyone was having a grand time when we started feeling some trickles of water on our backs. It turns out it was raining outside, and with the way that the crawl space had dipped down before flattening out, this whole place would fill up with rainwater pretty damn quickly, with only one way for it to drain out, was the way that we came in. It started as trickles before it went into streams and began to pool up around us. Being the furthest away from the exit, and you can only just crawl flat on your stomach with jagged crystal pointing down from the ceiling, I started to panic a little bit. Everyone crawled out as fast as they could as the water kept coming in, the streams growing larger and larger. We left one at a time as fast as we could, but it wasn't fast enough. I could feel the water coming up to my chin as I crawled behind my brother. Each inch I took forward felt so painfully slow that I could feel the walls compress around me. And the water was unrelenting, now splashing against my panicked squirms. I got out just as the water was up to my lips, and everyone got out safely. I'm definitely not eager to try that again.
Damn.
Yeah, see, that's one of those feelings. You've got to. I don't know. The panic has just got to be immensely. That's stressful, man. I don't like that. I like when I can just walk in, walk out, don't have to battle with space. I'm good.
Only affects me if there's water and you're swimming through the water. Anyways, this one is from Teacher of Mice. My cousins go caving. One of their favorite stories is about the time they went down one of their favorite caves, and it started raining and flooded the only way in and out, probably about a meter section completely submerged. They waited for an hour or two in their little underground camping spot, but the water wasn't going down. So they just said stuff it, turned around, and held their breath for that section. They said it was about the scariest thing they have done, because while they thought only 1 millimeter was submerged, they didn't know for sure, and couldn't know until they did it, by which time it would have been too late to turn around if it was more. They also love telling the story of their favorite tight tunnel, which is so small they have to take their shirts off, otherwise they are too wide.
Fuck that.
That's not ADA accessible.
Oh my god, dude.
I think it's actually a vertical tunnel, which they can get down fully clothed because of gravity, but they kept getting stuck while trying to pull themselves back up. Damn, I'm telling you, man, that water swimming, oof.
No.
That'd be the worst way to go. The worst way to go.
You've seen that movie, The Descent, right? The horror one where the group of women go down in the caves?
Yeah, but it's been a long time.
It's a good one, man. It's an old one, but it's a good one. Don't waste your time with the second one. But, man, the first one's fucking creepy, dude.
Sequels are generally ass, but yeah, I agree.
Okay, this one's from Keep It In Your Pants, Zeus. Yeah, Zeus. I go caving with my dad, who grew up mining uranium until his family's mine went belly up. He's pretty used to enclosed spaces and being underground, and I was raised similarly, albeit without the radon gas. I've rappelled into pits that I can't see the bottom of, bouldered my way along and over one of the largest underwater rivers in North America, nearly caught in a flash flood, and slipped into a crevice whose bottom is as of today not mapped and has never been reached or documented by anybody.
That's dangerous, man.
Yeah.
No map bottoms.
It was...
What's funny?
Map bottoms.
No, we're talking about caves, Brandon.
What do you just the way you said it.
What's so
unmapped bottoms. Then you just like turned and like shook your head. I don't know. It was so random. It was by far the scariest damn thing to ever happen to me. I had to brace myself with my feet, back against one wall and my legs stretched out in front of me, arms on either side. I was in a pretty good spot to be, roughly 10 feet down, on wet, smooth rock, and my headlamp had come unplugged from its battery in my pack, meaning that I only had the light from my dad looking down on me 10 feet up to see by. He had to leave to get some rope, and I couldn't really go anywhere or reattach my lamp in my position, so I got to chill in that crevice for roughly an hour, but God, it felt like so much longer. I thought the fall itself was scary, but it was nothing compared to that. Complete darkness, and it was so fucking quiet. I could hear my blood rushing in my ears and could hear my knees creaking under the pressure. Every piece of gravel that came loose from the tread of my boots hitting the sides of the crevice on the way down, just fading out. I started seeing lights, little flashes. I couldn't tell if my eyes were open or closed, and I couldn't move to check, or I'd fall God knows how far. I could hear more than I ever wanted, while simultaneously experiencing the most quiet that I'd ever felt, and all I could feel was the rock against my back and my hands, and presumably what my feet were braced against. I started to not be able to tell up from down, and started hearing footsteps and seeing movement and shapes from the corners of my eyes. It was utter hell, waiting for my dad to come back with rope to help me back out. I know that what I experienced was just due to the lack of visual and auditory stimuli, but goddamn, it was the scariest thing I ever experienced, and we always bring a good amount of rope with us now, even if we think we won't need it in a cave. Dude, that would be insane.
Yeah, the idea too of like not having light in that situation would be very scary as well.
Yeah.
Well, could you imagine like you didn't bring enough batteries and you're like trying to get out of a cave? It just dies.
Or
Like,
can you imagine
fuck.
being alone in that situation? Like, you were just like exploring and you fell and you're like, fuck, this is how I go. Like, that's got to be the worst feeling.
It's like you're in an interview and you know it's over and you're just like, fuck! Fuck!
You know, that's exactly what I was going to liken it to was, you know, when you're caving and you know you're in a bad fucking interview. It's the exact same thing.
No, I was watching this, it was like a TikTok and it was Florida Man or something. And he does that, man. It's not like to that degree, but he's like, is there any questions you have? And he's like, yeah, is there a drug test? And they're like, no. He's like, yes! Yeah!
I think I've seen that one. He does a lot of those
So
interviews where like
so funny, man.
have you seen the one where like he starts drinking a beer in the middle of the interview and they're like, you
no,
can't
there's
do
a
that.
couple champagne, liquor.
And she's like, excuse me, the interview's over. He's like, oh no, it's fine. It's fine. No, it's fine.
no.
It's okay.
There's a couple of different people. There's one that did like a drive-through.
Yes,
no,
yeah, that
no,
guy.
no, no, no. I'm not at
No,
a
I'm
drive-through.
not.
Yeah, chicken fillet sandwich. No, 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 no,
No.
I'm not. No.
He just gaslights the shit out of her the entire time.
It's so
I
funny.
haven't seen that guy in a long time. I laugh so hard at those. They're like, "Are you serious? Like, we're done." No. It's I'm not.
No.
Yeah, barbecue sauce. Barbecue sauce.
Yeah. Barbecue sauce, please.
Oh my god, that's hilarious. I just like no. And he always shakes his head like no. I'm not. No. I get you. I'm no.
Hey, this one is from Mr. Zorn. Well, this was a tomb, not a cave. I was exploring alone in a large ancient cemetery outside of a small town in Israel. These were Canaanite tombs that were thousands of years old. Many in this religion have been left unexcavated, so the area I was in looked like a huge low hill full of little dimple markings where the tombs were. So I was wandering around the shaft tombs, which were dug deep into the ground, and then branched out with different spots carved out of the rock for family members to be laying. Some of the tombs were open to the air, and quite deep. I got a little too close to the edge and fell in. I fell maybe 10 feet and I was stuck down there. It was a vertical drop and the sides were loose stone and rubble. It was the middle of the day in Israel, in the summer. I had no water and my cell service was kaput since I was below ground. I remember just standing there, looking up out of this hole in the ground with the blazing sun above and realizing how silent it was. It was an awful feeling, stuck in an ancient grave. Like I was experienced the same silence that was existed there forever, and I was now part of it or some sort of deep thought like that.
I think he was trying to say I was experiencing rather than I experienced.
Yeah, it was kind of a weird sentence.
But you never know with these Reddit threads, dude. Grammar doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Like your whole
know.
run-on fucking paragraph you did last week.
That was legendary. It didn't have a single period.
He's like, I don't believe in punctuation. We're just getting this all off my chest right now.
There's people that use periods and people that use meth. Anyway, I tried to scramble out, but the sides were too eroded and kept crumbling when I attempted to hoist myself out. I was really scared I might bring down the whole wall in this tomb and become the most recent burial in a few thousand years. Anyway, I was stuck for maybe 15 minutes at most before levering my way up by holding onto some roots and bracing myself on some more stable bits of stone. The feeling of getting the heck out of there was so relieving and personal. I rarely share that story because I was such a fool. So not a cave, but still a pretty scary story in a hole. I explored many sites afterwards, but always much more prepared than I was that day. I hadn't even told anyone where I was heading when I left the house. I don't think it would be wise for me to say the specific location, but if anyone is truly interested in some more details about what I was doing, why, and where, feel free to PM me.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that.
Someone writes, "Are you Indiana Jones?" And then they say something inappropriate, something tarded, little brother.
All right, this also comes from Deleted. I can answer this, as I've been caving as a hobby for several years now. Nothing really creepy ever happens caving, but I have been in some dangerous situations which have left me questioning my sanity, or the sanity of those around me. So I used to cave with a gang of people from a university club, but I had been out of university a few years now, and I've been doing my own thing. Well, one weekend, me and my friend, let's just call her Jane, decided that we should go on a little trip to a cave with these guys. You know, to see how the old club was doing. The club that taught us how to cave, and we in turn taught the new guys when we were the oldies. So anyway, it's going okay, and me and Jane go off caving on our own. That's your first mistake. But that evening, we decided to join the group and cave with them in a cave near to the campsite. Now, it was raining a bit, and I was starting to feel a little uneasy. But to be honest, I never voiced my concerns, and I just went with it. A large group of about 10 people get to this cave. The cave is basically a river on the inside normally, but it has a few levels of corridors that you can explore high above the river. The entrance is super tight, though, and requires you to climb down this tight pipe using your feet to feel for footholds. There's no way to see what is below you, and basically, if you lose your footing, there's a nasty fall of about 3 meters, but keep your head on, and it's just fine. Well, anyway, we get to the cave, and the guys in the club are doing their thing. Me and Jane are just the old dudes coming along for some old times. But we get into the cave, and there is one girl who gets stuck in the entrance at the end of the group. Turns out it was her second cave ever, and they brought her into this one, even though she panicked in a much larger cave earlier that day. 2 of the leaders stay behind to help her calm down and get her into the cave, and the rest of us potter on down some of the long corridors and start exploring this cave. Then I asked the leader of the group, a girl I had taught how to cave. Okay.
Come on, man. Tell me you found one of those weird stories about like...
It's the name that they call her. No, it's the name that they call her. That came out of nowhere. Okay. I'm going to do that whole sentence over again.
Just say it, man.
Shut the fuck up. I will. Then I asked the leader of the group, a girl I taught how to cave. Let's call her Dick Shit. What time it is. Like, really? Dick Shit's the name you're going to come up with? She tells me that she does not have a watch. I ask her how does she know what time to leave the cave and to be on time for the call out. A call out is arguably the most important thing in caving. It's where you let someone on the surface, even your buddy who you ring, know that you and whoever else are going to be to this cave and will be out at this time. Anyway, the leader of all these sweet, innocent beginners tells me that she did not leave a call out, or bring any first aid kit or safety equipment. I hold my cool because I don't want the others to panic, but I tell her very quietly, I am now the call out. Be out of the cave at this time. I give her my watch and I start back towards the entrance. At the entrance, the 2 other leaders are sitting with the girl who got stuck earlier. They managed to get her into the cave and are sitting with her. I tell them the situation and tell them that I'm leaving the cave. They ask me to go get an SRT kit, basically ropes and a harness, in case the panicked girl needs to climb back up, so I do just that. A while later, I come back with the gear, which they did not have all of, and I had to borrow off the other cavers. I get back to the cave and all the others are leaving, slowly as it is a difficult entrance and climbing out is harder. They all manage to get out, but lo and behold, the panicking girl gets stuck. Again. And with 2 leaders trapped below her, she's blocking the entire entrance. We harness her up and I rig up an anchor and try to secure her on a rope in case she falls, but she is wedged tight. Then I get the news from the others below that the cave is starting to fill because of the rain. After what seems like eternity of them nicely talking to this panicking girl, telling her that she's doing great and she'll be just fine, she's getting worse at this stage. I freak out and I start shouting at her so that she needs to get her shit together and get out of the fucking cave, because 2 others are stuck behind her. Kinda works, and she nearly stops having a panic attack, but not entirely. She stops hyperventilating, which just makes her more stuck. She still won't climb out though, so against all common sense, I lie down into the hole and grab her by the harness and pull her up out of the cave. After that, I told the club they needed to get their shit together and stop being cowboys, but I haven't gone back to them since.
You know, Jane says she's going away to Spain. Get her money paid. Gonna start tomorrow.
Okay.
Jane says. Okay. This one is from Spiker. I grew up down in the desert, where there were a lot of old abandoned mine shafts. We would go explore the mine shafts for fun. There would always be some level of danger. It was common to see old abandoned boxes of dynamite and leftover mining equipment. One time, we went and explored this vertical mine shaft, which had a ladder that worked its way down. The ladder had a platform about every 20 feet and a hatch that would continue to the next level. I was with about 6 people, I believe. We had gone down to the bottom of the mine shaft. I would guess it was about 700 feet down at this point, and we got to the point where the shaft was full of water. We all decided to go swimming in the water, which was creepy in its own right. But as we were climbing up, it was looking up, and I could see a light moving around. I began realizing that someone else was in the mine shaft. I came to one of the hatches and had just poked my head out when I look to my right and I see a flashlight moving very rapidly towards me, and then the hatch was slammed shut on me. Someone was standing on the hatch and I could not open it. I was able to open the hatch after about 5 minutes, and it turned out to be someone that I recognize, or Cars, and was a friend of ours that was just messing with us, but it was very terrifying at the moment. Someone was just fucking with him, man.
I feel like it's something you would do. Like, hey, I'm going camping. I'm going to go hiking. You just show up and fuck with people. Like, ooh,
yeah, you know. Ooh, I'm a stick Indian. Ooh.
I don't think you can say that. I don't know how we glossed over this also, something we missed last week. But we actually, our show, Into the Abyss, actually just hit our 5-year anniversary on the 2nd of February. Is that crazy, man? 5 fucking years we've been doing this?
Yeah, our growth prospects are dismal, but here we are.
Yeah. I think we're like worse than when we started. All right, this comes from Somewhat Emily. Not a cave, but very similar. So at my old school, there were some maintenance tunnels under the school. There were the new ones, and there were the old ones that the school didn't use anymore. My friend Chloe and I found an entrance to the old tunnels in a classroom that wasn't being used. We had to pick a lock on a trap door, unscrew a round metal top, and then lower ourselves into a square, dirty tunnel. The main tunnels were about 2 feet wide by 3 feet tall, with maybe 2 inches of dirty black water in the bottom. The tunnels were very dark and cold and smelled of mold. We began exploring it a little bit every single day. One time we were in there for maybe 20 minutes and Chloe passed out. Turns out there was some dangerous gases down there. I had to drag her out. Next time we brought some masks and flashlights and began mapping out the system. So it's not like, hey, maybe we shouldn't go down here. It's, hey, let's just bring some masks and make it happen.
To be fair, like, there's a lot of dead air and, like, exploring abandoned places, so be careful out there.
Very true. We tracked more than 700 feet of twisting, turning tunnel. They went up, down, and turned to the sides. We used chalk to mark the walls so that we would be able to find our way back. And after a particularly long expedition, maybe 3 hours, we headed back to where we came in, only to find that it was locked. We pushed and turned on the metal cover. It didn't budge. We were trapped in there. We rushed through the tunnels trying to open each of the 3 openings that we had found over time, but none of them would open. Any panic that we had now begun to surface, and to say the least, we were kind of freaking out. We ended up heading down a tunnel that we hadn't been down before. After a while, I kept hearing noises behind us. I told Chloe, who was crawling in front of us. We froze, turned off our flashlight, and listened. Sure enough, a steady splashing sound was following us. We freaked the fuck out and made a run for it. Now let's keep in mind we had no idea where we were going at this point, and after maybe 10 minutes of a panicked dash through the tunnels, tripping over pipes and scraping our knees, we emerged into a bigger room. What the hell? We realized it wasn't a room, but sort of a down section of a much bigger room. We had come out in the drainage section of the boiler room. Now you might think our adventure stopped here, but it didn't. This was the second Friday of the month. There was someone doing maintenance down here. We hid behind some old metal stairs, and when the guy left for more tools, we scrambled up the stairs and out the door. We hid in the girls' locker rooms for the rest of the day. We never did find out who locked us down there or what the splashing noise was. Well, damn.
I almost died, clearly.
Clearly.
All right, this one is from Fat Titrius. I'll get buried, but I'll answer. For creepiness, in the Barino jungle, where a local guide wanted to show us an ancient limestone network. More bats than I've ever come across in several cave experiences. I'm not a caver, just an avid adventurer with cave experience. Probably 5 million bats, but that wasn't the creepy bit. Stumbling on semi-mummified skeletons was. My guide failed to tell me that the caves were ancient burial sites. Turning to see a skull a few inches from my face was physiologically and psychologically inconvenient. Scariest would probably be caving in the UK. Proper crawling and squeezing shit. Wasn't pleasant. The time I thought we were going to die. Got trapped in a small room, flooded to our ankles, where the tunnels in and out were fully submerged. You kinda ascended into a pocket room/chamber. Assuming we'd either suffocate or drown wasn't great. Fortunately, the water levels dropped just enough after a couple of hours to crawl out, breathing with our heads sideways and mouths pressed practically against the ceiling, like in the movies where ships are sinking. What is always slightly eerie in British caves is knowing of some of the deaths/disasters that happen right where you're standing, like one in Yorkshire where several school kids died. Being in that same place and knowing that the claustrophobic cavity you stood in was someone's final view. Dun-a-dun. Dun-a-dun.
This comes from I.H. Lewis. I took a trip to Iceland. Me, my girlfriend, my 2 friends, and their significant others. We had it on our itinerary to stop and check out a lava tube, an underground tunnel that lava used to flow through. This tunnel was completely underground after the first 200 meters or so. It twisted and turned, so we all lost sight of the daylight from the entrance. Pitch black, total darkness. We start our little hike, and the tube is only 2 kilometers, if that, from the start to the dead end. It was July, but there was still snow in some of the tunnels that was open to the outside. It was very cool. We came across a few couples who told us that the rocks get treacherous and they didn't have flashlights. We had a few, and were all fairly athletic. Figured, sure, why not? After about an hour of going up and down the large boulders of volcanic rock, we get to a large hill in the tunnel. At the top of this hill is this huge boulder, just sitting very precariously at the top. The boulder was tapered off a bit on the backside, so it wasn't bad to get up, but the front side, we saw at first, was flat. Not smooth, but just a straight, flat part of rock. I climbed up because it would be a great spot to get a Superman pose for a picture, and a very good storytelling piece. I climb up, get into position, and my buddy snaps the picture. After he takes the picture, with flash obviously, one of the girls noticed something rather odd to my left. Everyone shines their flashlights on this area, and about 6 feet to my left, suspended 10 to 12 feet above the bottom of the cave, was a rope, anchored to the ceiling. Came down out of the anchor to a knot about 4 feet from the ceiling. The knot turned into a loop. The loop had been cut at the bottom. It looked a lot like a noose. Yellow nylon rope, suspended 1.75 kilometers into a lava tube, 20-ish feet above the floor of the cave. The strangest part was that there was no easy way to get to the roof to anchor it. It was a very well done anchor and had been there for a while. It looked like someone was determined to come out and spend their final hours in absolute darkness. We kept going, but noped about it the entire time. Huh.
Well, at least they learned a valuable lesson.
I like the first comment. I'm sorry, but if you're talking in a pitch black cave underground, you see a noose, it's time to turn around.
Yeah, probably.
The next comment is, fuck this thread.
This one is from DSDLYNN.
Okay.
DS Dylan. Probably is what he meant to say. Don't know if this sounds as creepy, but definitely gave us a scare and then a laugh. My aunt and my cousin were visiting us in our town for the first time since before she gave birth to him. She says she would like to go to Carlsbad Caverns, so we do. We're underground and kind of break off from everyone else on the designated path. I believe we just passed the section between the totem pole heading towards the seating area called Top of the Cross, when all of a sudden we hear this screechy, rumbling, just echoing through the caves. We all just kind of look at each other wondering what was going on. Is there an earthquake? Is part of the caverns collapsing? Then it just stops. Everything is okay, and we keep walking and joke with each other. The caves are so quiet, even with the hundreds of people that are down there with you. I mean, just talking normally feels wrong, and you feel like you have to whisper. All you hear are faint mumblings. So, when the sudden rumbling just came roaring through, not gonna lie, gave me a mini heart attack, and it definitely freaked out my mom and my aunt. Anyways, as we get closer to the seating area, we hear it again, but this time we are able to see what it was. It was a freaking park ranger. Yep, the ranger was pushing a cart with her laptop in it, and I'm assuming equipment to monitor the cave temperature readings, etc. Gave us a good laugh after that. TLDR, wheels, tiny little wheels, man. Almost gave us a heart attack.
Tiny little wheels.
Yeah, you know, wheel size does matter.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know. I know you haven't read a book in a long time, but the new, I'm just saying because you said like you don't read anymore.
I know you don't read.
I know you don't read,
idiot.
you fucking simpleton. But Stephen King did like a collection of stories. It's called You Like It Darker, and there was a story literally about like a haunted stroller. It was kind of weird. Like the
Yes.
squeaky wheels. Like, I don't know. It was odd.
Steven's running out of ideas, man.
No, well, the problem is he stopped doing cocaine. And he got a lot less creative. Still
Do
good.
drugs, Steven. You know, Stephen King sounds scary, but Steven kind of sounds like a cuck.
Okay.
You take out the king, man, it changes
I
things.
mean, it does. It does.
Okay, Steven.
All right, Steven. All right, it's a weird segue because this next story comes from Stephen Clark G.
Okay, Steven.
Okay, Steven. All right, Bloomington, Indiana. A 19-year-old man who spent 60 hours locked alone inside a gated southern Indiana cave says that he feels lucky to be alive. Indiana University freshman Lucas Kavar was on a spelunking trip to Sullivan Cave about 10 miles south of Bloomington when he became separated Sunday afternoon from 12 other members of the university's caving club. When he eventually reached the cave entrance, Kavar found club members had padlocked its gate, unaware that he had remained inside. He couldn't get a cell phone signal and screamed for hours, hoping that motorists passing on a nearby road might hear him. It took me a little while to wrangle my emotions and sort of approach things analytically, sensibly, to come up with a game plan to survive, Kavar said Thursday, 2 days after his rescue. The Bloomington man, whose parents are Indiana University linguistics professors, tried picking the padlocks with a paper clip to no avail. Dressed in light clothes, hiking boots, and a helmet, Kavar had a plastic bag, 2 energy bar wrappers, 2 empty water bottles, a cell phone, and a wallet. He used the energy bar wrappers to collect moisture and the water bottles to collect rainfall and puddled cave water. Kavar also licked the cave's damp walls to quench his thirst. Hunger drove him to consider foraging for cave crickets, although he didn't eat any of the small insects. After his parents filed a missing person report with university police, a high school friend informed the caving club's president that Kavar was missing. 2 club leaders immediately returned to the cave late Tuesday after finding a pile of clothing in a vehicle that club members used to travel Sunday to the cave. They discovered Kavar uninjured and asleep behind the locked gate. "I'm really glad to be alive. Feels like I've been given a second chance," said Kavar, who returned to the classes Thursday and has no plans for another spelunking trip. Damn, man.
Yeah, that's some crazy shit, man.
eating cave crickets. All right, folks, that is going to wrap us up for tonight's episode. Thank you for virtually spelunking with us through these crazy stories of cave explorations and being trapped inside the darkest places on Earth. Huge shout out to our paid supporters of the show: Soylent Cleat, Cleat Feet, Curtis and Lara, Mothman, Lara, Conklin Family, and Lou. Your paid support of the show is tremendously helpful, and if you yourself would like to become one of these paid supporters of the show and have your name shouted out at the end of every episode, there's a link below. You can choose from several tiers, as well as a one-time donation to the beer fund. You can click on the link there to support us that way.
And if you're listening to us on YouTube, please like, share, and subscribe, as it really helps us get us out there. And as always, thank you for entering the abyss.
Until next time.